Zilch left, 35 Wichita Macho
Dice
Toe.
right, F5.
Dice right numbers, 3 Jet Spielberg.
Ready? Right. All right, and welcome back to episode 8 of the Pre-Snap Pressure Podcast. I'm Nick Lazo, of course, as always, joined by Ryan Shapiro, and we are here after week 2, well, at least all the major games of week 2, and what a week, dude. Actually, I don't really know what these first 2 weeks has been, because it's been so much just randomness and craziness, that I'm doubting a lot of things that I thought about a lot of these teams before the season, and I'm pretty sure you are too.
I mean, some things that I thought about some of these teams before this year. A lot of teams that I thought were going to be bad are actually doing pretty good, which in some cases is frustrating, but other times it's like, oh, nice. That's actually a pretty cool team that I want to see do good. So it's been fun to watch though, at least. So that's all there is.
It's been very fun to watch a lot of these games. All right, let's go straight into our top 5 and bottom 5 of the week, starting off with the top 5. Honorable mention to this guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, here on the first thing community night, First thing community night.
Imagine turning down $25,000 to kick a projectile at your rival's sideline.
He wasn't even turning anything down. He knew he wasn't going to make that. He was like, if I go out, I bet he told his friends before that, he was like, if I go out there, I'm kicking it at the sideline. I'm not making a 45-yard field goal. So why not make it worth my while?
That's pretty awesome. This is what rivalries are about, man.
Oh, yeah.
That game just in general was awesome. I really think that game should be played every year, man. Give it to us.
Every year.
Give it to us.
Give it, bring it back. Bring that game back, please. Oh my gosh. That game was awesome to watch.
All right, moving on to number 5 is Sawyer Robinson for a bounce back week. Had 440 yards, 4 touchdowns, and got his team a win against ranked SMU. Which I'm really happy Baylor won that game because I thought Baylor was really good, but I didn't actually pick them to win this game last week. So I was wrong on this, but I'm happy to be wrong on this.
Yeah, that was definitely a prove it game for Baylor, I feel like, after last week not doing as good as or winning a game that they probably felt they should have won. And Sawyer Robertson, he didn't even have that bad of a game last week, I think. I mean, yeah, another, high yardage game the week before. And I mean, he seems like he's on track to have at least a 4,000-yard year, and he still doesn't have an interception yet. So something to watch out for.
Was a stud last week. All right, moving on to number 4 is the SEC as a whole, 13-1 and out of conference play, and we had some big time games go in favor of the SEC. Oklahoma took down Michigan on Saturday night, and then we had Mississippi State upsetting Arizona State. Really, really good job by the Bulldogs. Turns out those cowbells are a little more than just 4 tiny little bells you walk around with at practice.
That's all I could think about because I was watching that last play, the game-winning touchdown that Mississippi State had, and all I was hearing was cowbells. I don't think I heard anyone cheer. It was just cowbells. I thought that was so funny that they tried to use the 2 little cowbells at practice.
That's funny. All right. Well, you may be asking, the SEC's 13-1. Why are they in the top 5? Because the one loss was Florida to South Florida, and that's why South Florida is once again in our top 5 at number 3. Playoff team?
Question mark?
Playoff team? Byron Brown Heisman? Question mark?
Look, I'm all for it. I'm all for the hype right now. They've got a big game this weekend that we'll cover here in a little bit, but after that game against Miami, this is a super winnable schedule. So if they can play close to Miami and finish the season 11-1, how do you not put them in the playoffs?
I don't think there's any way you can't. I mean,
That's illegal. I don't honestly. I'd put them in my top 5.
Yeah. All right, moving on to number 2. Our top team's beating up on cupcakes because some of these games can be trap games with the exception of Florida. I mean, erase that, but I wouldn't say UCF's a cupcake from what we've seen the first 2 weeks. But yeah, Alabama, a good bounce back game for them after an iffy game last week. Ohio State doing their job. Penn State taking care of things. Miami, Texas, another good or a bounce back game a little bit for them as well. Florida State, perfect. Tennessee destroyed East Tennessee, Indiana, Texas Tech, Utah. Good job, guys. You did your job.
Yeah, all very good work from all these teams. I'm taking Florida State as my cupcake win of the week, though.
Nice. And number one of the week is John Mateer and his probably hurt back because, oh my God, he was about 80% of their offense in that game against Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, John Mateer, I thought he was going to be horrible going into this year. Um,
Really?
I fully thought he was not going to be good. I didn't like Oklahoma this year at all, and they're just continuously proving me wrong. So sucks for me, but
Who
I
would have
mean,
who would have
John Mateer, dude,
who would have guessed
unreal.
that the guy from the Texas background doesn't like Oklahoma?
Yeah, it's very obvious why I don't like Oklahoma.
Hey, you gotta admit they're good
I
though. They're looking good.
They're looking good, don't get me wrong, but I didn't trust them this year. And they're showing me right now that they can be trusted in big games. Um they have two big games, three big games on the road this year, but they've got a lot of ranked opponents in their schedule as well. I'm looking at this. They've got Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Bama, Mizzou, LSU all in a row.
Yikes. Well, with the way they looked yesterday, if they keep playing like that, at least from a defensive standpoint, there's still a little bit to be desired offensively, but defensively,
Mhm.
Michigan didn't really have any answers. They could barely throw the ball. They had more
Bryce
rushing
Underwood
yards.
looked like a freshman.
They looked like a freshman, which you were expecting that, but I don't think to this extent. He was 9 for 24 with only 142
Yeah,
yards and nothing else. So Oklahoma defense showed up to play, and yeah, they're one of the top defenses in the SEC in the country.
100%.
All right, moving on to our bottom five of the week. Honorable mention for the bottom five, Clemson. I looked at it halftime, and you were losing to Troy. Why?
It was 16-0 with 7 minutes to play in the second quarter.
I didn't actually
What
get to see any of that game, like with my own eyes. I'm still just wondering how that happened.
what are we doing, Clemson? Why is it 16-0? You're down to Troy. Troy is not normally a bad football team for a Sun Belt team, but it's a Sun Belt team.
Yeah,
What are we doing? You're supposed to be national championship favorites. You're supposed to have the Heisman, one of the Heisman favorites. I mean,
he hasn't played like in the first 2 weeks. Not at all.
he hasn't, and neither has the rest of the team.
Yeah.
I it's just looked ugly.
They got to turn things around, or else it's gonna be an ugly year for Clemson. They keep
Yeah.
playing like they did against Troy. There are a lot of these teams that are not gonna come out with W's against. All right, moving on
Yeah.
to number five of the bottom five is Oklahoma State. What happened here, man? Like, I'm not talking about just this game. I'm talking about with this program as a whole. What they were in? What weren't they in the Big 12 championship like 2 years ago?
Yes, they were.
And the
It,
last,
it probably all started with that Big 12 championship, to be
what are
honest.
we doing, man? 69-3 at the end of the third quarter. No points were put up in the fourth quarter, but it didn't matter at that point. Um, just what are we doing? Yeah, it was funny.
It's funny to me. I mean, they lost by 66 to another Power Four team. Like, how do you manage that? Jeremiah McClellan had more receiving yards than your quarterback had passing yards.
Yeah,
Zach, Zane Flores, like,
Oregon had two receivers, Jeremiah McClellan and DeCorian Moore, both had more receiving yards than your quarterback, and then you had two rushers for Oregon had more rushing yards than your quarterback. So
just fire Mike Gundy at this point.
I
You have to. How do you not fire Mike Gundy? Your team was in the negative in total yards by 420 yards. You got outgained by 420 yards.
yeah, that's pretty bad. On a side note, on the Oregon side, Dante Moore, people had some questions about him preseason about whether he could actually thrive in this Oregon system. He's looking pretty dang good
Yeah.
first 2 weeks. I must say. All right, moving on to number 4 of our bottom 5. Kenny Dillingham running his big mouth before the week just to get upset by Mississippi State. That's a bad look.
Yeah, no, I mean, bottom SEC team against the top Big 12 team, and that's what happens.
Yeah, that's it's not a good look. Especially we're expecting this Arizona State team to kind of have, a building year off of last year where they, went into the playoffs, took Texas to the very wire, and first 2 games hasn't looked good. They didn't look good last week, even though they won, and then this past week they don't come up with a win by not being integrity, keeping integrity late in the game on defense, and end up selling the game to Mississippi State. So just a piss poor start to the year for the Sun Devils. All right, moving on to our number 3 of the bottom 5. UCLA again. Are we okay out there in Pasadena? Do we need help? What? You've looked terrible. I mean, I'm talking you're looking bottom of your conference terrible. We're losing to UNLV, who didn't look good against whoever they played in their last game, or
Sam
in
Houston
their first
and
game.
Idaho State.
That's who it was. They didn't look good against either of those teams, and then they come out and beat you. That's just that's a terrible look. We had all this noise over the offseason.
Did Nico just forget like he has to play football after taking NIL deals?
Well, to be fair, if we look at Tennessee's offense this year and looked at Tennessee's offense last year, are we certain Nico actually knew how to play football? Because Tennessee
Well,
looks
think about it this way. Tennessee looks good, but
Tennessee
you
looks
remember how good they looked the
real
first
good
two
last
weeks?
year.
You remember? Yeah, Tennessee looked good those first 2 weeks last year. So I'm excited to see what they got going over there, but y- let's pump the brakes a little.
I have seen some people say this, which it makes sense to me now, and it makes sense why it's stupid. Nico was struggling to dissect defenses at Tennessee, which is a one read veer and shoot offense that is primarily run. You
Hmm.
go if you're struggling there in probably the easiest system a quarterback can learn. What makes you think you're going to go to UCLA, a West Coast offense, and succeed?
Yeah, that doesn't
That doesn't compute,
that
does it?
doesn't track.
Mm.
He just wanted to go to LA.
For what? He got his NIL deal cut in half pretty much from taxes when he was in Tennessee and didn't have any of his NIL deals taxed.
Yeah, like he well, because he thought he had higher market value than he actually did,
By a lot.
and yeah, and decided, oh, actually, never mind. Nobody really
Who want me for real?
wants me to play. Yeah,
Who want me?
nobody wants
Who
you.
want me
All
for
right,
real?
bro. Nobody wants him, and so he was like, all right, well, this these guys want me, and it's in LA. At least I can go to the beach. At
I
least I
guess.
can. At least the weather's low key nice.
I guess. Sure. All right. Whatever. All right. Moving on to number 2, which is funny enough is very similar to our number 2 at top 5 of the week. Our number 2 top 5 of the week was big teams beating up on cupcakes. Our bottom 5 of the week are big teams not beating up on cupcakes because it felt like this week there was really no in between. You either won by 70 or you looked terrible against a bottom team. LSU only beating
Hmm.
Louisiana Tech by 16. Georgia not looking very good against Austin P. We mentioned
We already
Clemson.
talked about Clemson.
South Carolina looked against South Carolina State.
Hmm.
We already talked about Florida. Um, Iowa State. I wouldn't call Iowa a cupcake, but you both looked bad in that game.
I
Yeah,
wouldn't call Kentucky a cupcake just because they're in the SEC, but Ole Miss
Kentucky
had
was
trouble with that game.
in that game though. That was a very
Yeah,
winnable game for Kentucky. Just
yeah.
barely didn't get out of it at the end. Um, but yeah, it just felt like there were some of these teams that were doing their job against these inferior opponents, and other teams just didn't really look good. And two of those teams were ranked top 4 this past week, so
Hmm.
it leaves a lot of question marks.
It does, and I almost want to throw Texas into that just a little bit. I know we mentioned them earlier with the top five, but I want to throw Texas that first quarter of Texas
That first quarter was bad.
was ugly, 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 ugly. The box score shows they put up 14 points in the first quarter, but they scored those 14 points in the first
In the last
I don't know,
two,
or in the last 2 minutes of the quarter. And also San Jose State covered. So
yeah.
plus 36 and a half.
All right, moving on to number one. We actually have split prizes for number one, if you want to call it prizes.
Yeah.
Florida and Kansas State losing to Florida, using to UCF or USF, like we already mentioned, and Kansas State losing to Army. And to think we thought these teams would be fighting for playoff spots and or their conferences at the end of the year.
Yeah, I won't necessarily say Florida season is over because they have a lot of teams that can put themselves back into the top five within 2 weeks.
But
Um,
if you think about it, Florida lost to South Florida at home. Next
that's
week
not a good loss
they
in
go.
the
Next
slightest
week, no,
way.
no, hold on. Time out here. Next week they go on the road to LSU. That follows by on the road at Miami. Then they play Texas at home. They go on the road to Texas A&M. They get Mississippi State at home. They play Georgia and Jacksonville, at Kentucky, at Ole Miss, versus Tennessee, and versus Florida State. I just mentioned 10 teams there. Eight of
What?
those, eight of those teams are ranked.
If they can just win, if they can just win out, that's all they gotta do.
But the problem is, I don't see that
I don't think
happening.
they will. Trust. They're gonna go into Baton Rouge this weekend, and they're gonna stomp
Looking
the
at this,
Tigers, and they're gonna move up to number two.
looking at this 4 game stretch, Florida might be 1-5 when they get to start, or when Mississippi State
The
comes to
next,
town.
yeah, no, they have the least favorable schedule I think I've seen in a while, and I'm gonna shift it over to Kansas State because
Because
good
you feel
luck,
bad.
Florida. That was
Because
that
you feel
was
bad.
that was the worst possible loss you could have had all season. But Kansas State
Good lord,
may
man.
have may have just started the season off the worst they could have. A loss to Iowa State by 3, and like neither team really looked good in that game. Once they got going a little bit, both teams looked all right. But then you take North Dakota to the final seconds and barely win, and it's like, all right, you're on notice now because nobody believes you're a good team
And
if
then
you
you
take
lose to
a
Army.
cupcake. Yeah, if you take a cupcake to the last second, and then you lose to Army, and now I don't even know what we're doing in
It's
Little
just,
Manhattan because what?
yeah, I don't. There's no like function on offense for this Kansas State team. Avery Johnson at points in the game looks like a deer stuck in headlights. Their running
We
game
lost to Tarleton State, by
is
the way.
bad. Yeah, Army lost to an FCS team 2 weeks ago. By the way,
Tarleton State is better than Kansas State.
confirmed.
Confirmed.
Anyways, yeah, just two really really bad weekends for these two teams. All right, that concludes our bottom five. Moving into just some open-ended discussion. Yeah, what has this year been? Because every week I'm seeing some new crazy thing. Um, I mean, week 0 was a week 0, especially with Hawaii
Hmm.
beating Stanford. Last week you had a bunch of stuff. Most of all, Florida State being Alabama. And then this week, where we just mentioned USF over Florida, Army over Kansas State, a bunch of other teams looking like crap. What's going on here, man?
This year has only shown, to me at least, we need to abolish preseason rankings
I agree.
because,
They mean nothing.
yeah, we've already something that I just used to never see has happened for the last 2 weeks now, and it's an unranked team jumping into the top 20. Last week it was Florida State jumping into the top 15 at 14,
Florida State's ranked
and then
number 10 now, by the way. They didn't have
yeah,
any
they're ranked
they
number
didn't
10
have
now.
any votes to start and rankings to start the season. And now they're ranked 10.
Nope, they're ranked 10. And now USF, who also didn't have any votes to start the season, is ranked 18th, who was unranked last week.
Yeah.
And you've also seen Florida go to unranked, Arizona State move to unranked, both top 15 teams. You've seen SMU, I believe, move to unranked
I'd assume they
in the
did
new
after
AP
that
poll.
loss to Baylor.
Yeah, yeah, SMU is not in. So it's, and Michigan also almost dropped out of the rankings completely after losing to another top 20 team. It's it's just too early to determine who your top 25 is. You can have your list, you can have your power rankings, I feel like in these first couple of weeks. But we all know what the only ranking that matters is, and it's
The
the
one that
college
starts
football
at the
playoff.
end of the year. Yep.
Yeah, it's the college football playoff ranking. And honestly, I think we should just play the season until they want to start ranking. Because you do have, let's say, preseason number one Texas. Let's say for some reason they lose to San Jose State this last week. First of all, Arch, who was the Heisman favorite going into the season, in his first year starting, I get it, he's a junior this year. He's in his first year starting though. He looks like the worst player of all time now. When in reality, maybe he just wasn't as good as we initially thought. Now, Texas should never lose to San Jose State, and they didn't, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You get, you know, you have teams like Kansas State, who started the season
Top 20,
17.
I believe.
Yeah,
Sounds about right.
yeah, top 20. They start the season top 20, and now they're already unranked and they're losing to Army in week 3, and their schedule is only going to get more difficult.
Yeah. I think the funniest thing looking at the rankings, now that I'm actually getting like a good look at it, I see a top 10 ranked team that's 0-1 that didn't
That moved up one.
play this last week that moved up this week.
Like what? How does that? How does one manage to do that? It's because Clemson wasn't good this week, and
They dropped 4 spots after winning
yeah,
because they struggled with Troy.
but an 0-1 team gets to move up.
I guess
And it's just those little things that you see, and it's like that doesn't make sense.
I guess if you don't play, you don't lose.
Yeah, but you're 0-1.
Well, to be fair, the loss is to a team that's the 5th in the nation.
Okay, only because they beat you.
And because you were ranked 6th. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. I don't like preseason rankings at all. I mean,
Because you have South Carolina, who also moved down one for winning.
we've had teams that just have looked like crap that have been ranked high. The only team, I'm not gonna lie to you, that's looked complete and dominant both the first 2 weeks of the season is sitting at 4th right now. I think it's Oregon. They
I
are
would say,
the only team that in both of their first 2 games, first 2 or 3 games, both times have completely shown up and played a complete game offensively and defensively.
I can agree with that. I think Penn State's also up there, but they've played 2 cupcakes, so
But Oregon
I'm
has
gonna
looked better than Penn State
right. Yeah, Oregon has looked better than Penn State. You're
in
right.
all facets of the game. And it really hasn't been close, and especially this week, it wasn't close. I mean, Penn State won by 34 against Florida International. Well, Oregon won by 66 against a Power 4 opponent. So,
I mean, you can also throw Florida State into that.
okay, there are two teams. Oregon and Florida State have played a complete game. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, it's just, but I feel like if there were no preseason rankings,
This would look we would have a lot different opinions about a lot of teams.
yeah, I feel like you could throw a lot of different teams into or not a lot of different teams, but you could make the argument for some teams at least into the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. We want to take a second to revisit our Heisman leaders from the start of the year, or at least our Heisman picks from the start of the year. Ryan.
Yeah, I want to put Tommy Castellanos into the conversation. I was not very high on him
If
coming
you
into the year.
if you were given a ballot right now and you had to put a first place, a second
Right
place, and a
now,
third place, what would you do?
first place, second place, third place, right now. Let me just pull up the stats. We're gonna look at some numbers. Um, because Sawyer Robertson among Power Four schools leads the country in passing yards.
Let's just say there's a lot of guys that you could put on that ticket, and not a lot of them are ones we thought we would see. You mentioned Tommy Castellanos.
I'm gonna put Tommy at 2.
Mhm.
I'm gonna put Nussmeyer at 1. I think he had that big win. Castellanos also had a big top 10 win, but I think that win against Clemson was a little bit more impressive. Um, and I'm gonna put Bo Perbula at 3.
All right.
Just I think he's looked great, and he was a big question mark coming into the season, and there's not a single question around him now.
Um, I mean, yeah, I can't really argue with that. He's looked good at throwing the ball. He's looked good at running the ball. His offense looked good on Saturday against Kansas. So, I mean, yeah, there's not really anything to argue about there. Here's what I am saying right now. I'm doing some math here. Oklahoma through the first two games has 903 yards of offense. 760 that is John Mateer. In the air and on the ground.
It's pretty solid.
Pretty much ran through the Michigan defense by himself. He was most of their offense in that game. So I'm gonna currently put him at 1. I'll keep Nussmeyer at 2, even though he was against Louisiana Tech. And I will put Byron Brown at 3.
Oh, you're super big on Byron Brown right now.
And that guy is fun to watch, man. He's really fun to watch.
He's got 2 big wins already.
He
So,
does. Looking at that schedule, he's got a chance to do something really funny next week.
who do you have in your 4 spot? Who's just outside your pick?
Uh, uh, there's a bunch of guys I could put here. I could put Castellanos here. I could put Dante Moore for Oregon here. I'm gonna go Devin Dampier from Utah.
I like that pick. I
Mhm.
think that's a good pick. Um, I'm gonna put Sawyer Robertson.
Also, great
It,
pick.
his completion percentage really isn't that high, but he's got the most passing yards among Power Four schools. He's got a 7-0 touchdown to interception ratio.
Hmm.
If you're not turning the ball over, I really don't care how many touchdowns you're throwing for. So that's
Also,
what I
acting
see
like
right now.
7's a bad number through 2 games.
Exactly. 7 through 2 games is great. That is a phenomenal number to be at. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, I don't care what your touchdown to interception ratio looks like if you're not throwing an interception. He could end up with 7 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. I'm not putting him in my Heisman, but I'm saying that's impressive.
Yeah. Agree with that. All right, let's move on to our games for week 3. Got a bit more of some good games than we did last week. We've got 7 for you as opposed to 6 last week. Starting off with game day, game of the week, Georgia and Tennessee. Thoughts?
I was,
Oh, you waiting for me to say something?
I'm not gonna lie. I thought you were gonna have a couple of words, but I can go if you want me to do that.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Obviously, I feel like this was the no doubt game day pick for this one.
Yep.
Tennessee's actually predicted to win this one right now.
What's the line?
Well, the line is -7 to Georgia,
Oh, but the
but
ESPN predicted
matchup predictor
it's 7.
says,
The lineup is 7.
yeah,
Oh, that's
the
bad.
line is 7.
That's bad.
That's yeah.
That's
So,
bad.
I think it'll be interesting to see Tennessee against an SEC defense, against an SEC team. Uh, they had a big game against Syracuse. They had a big win there, and they obviously took care of East Tennessee State. But Georgia, I feel like is going to be the real test here. It's a home game, so if you get blown out, it it looks bad no matter what. Even
Yeah.
if you're like, oh, but this, that, and the other. I really don't care. You're at home. You should be able to win that game, especially if your offense is rolling the way it does. If Tennessee loses a shootout here, that could make their season more interesting, in my opinion, because it was around this time last year that we saw Tennessee start to
Lose
show
steam.
signs that this offense is not going to be good.
Which we thought it was
And
going to be very good the first couple weeks last year.
yeah, they put up I think 50 against NC State and then 70 against
Somebody.
East
Somebody unknown.
or Directional Carolina.
Directional
So
Carolina.
sorry, they put up 69 against Chattanooga, 51 against NC State, and then 71 against Kent State,
Okay.
and then 25 to Oklahoma.
Yeah. So
So it
this it's the first real test for both these teams, obviously. Um I do have concerns for both teams, both on opposite sides of the ball. Tennessee offensively looked really good the first 2 weeks. No doubt in my mind that it's a Josh Heupel offense. Josh Heupel is a good offensive mind. He knows what he's doing. Um, their defense did let up a good bit to Syracuse. That would have been fine if Syracuse then did not go out this week and struggle with UConn at home.
huh.
So maybe Syracuse isn't as good as we thought, and that win holds less meaning. So their defense is still a question mark to me. Do I think they're good? Yes. But this is the real test to show us if you're great. Georgia, on the other hand, I'm confident in their defense. I've liked what I've seen in their defense against the first two in their first 2 games. Granted, it was against Marshall and Austin P. But I like the defensive front. It looks better than it did last year, which is saying a lot considering they lost 2 first-round players on said defensive front. Offensively is my question for Georgia. They looked pretty good against Marshall. They did not look good this week against Austin P. Especially through the air. The last 2 years, that's where Georgia has kind of gotten their ground from. They've been more of a offense pass heavy team than what we're used to seeing from Georgia ever. Think of Georgia, you think of running backs and running the football and playing good defense. Part of that might have been you had a super, at least talented quarterback who could make difficult throws, and you were kind of lighter on running backs than you had been in previous years. So I think offensively, you're seeing Georgia transition back to what it usually is, where we're going to try and run the ball down your throat, own the time of possession, and our defense is going to, shut you down, and maybe we'll put up 30 points, but you're going to put up 10. This is the test to see if that's going to work for Georgia this year. If Tennessee's offense has a day and they win this game, you got to start thinking about some things at Georgia. Because all I'm going to say is offensively, if you play like you did against Austin P against Tennessee, I don't think you're going to win. All right. All right. Picks for the game. You go ahead.
Um, I'll take Georgia in this one. Uh, one, so you don't have to. Uh, two, because I don't feel super strongly about this Tennessee offense. I think they're a solid team overall. I just don't feel their offensive showings are gonna continue this entire year. And I will be interested to see how Joey Aguilar handles this Georgia defense. So I'm gonna take Georgia in more of a defensive struggle.
Out of every game we have this week, this one I have the least amount of I guess insight to try and tell me which way to go with my pick. Because there's things about Tennessee, like I just said, I'm concerned about. There's things about Georgia I'm concerned about. I'm gonna go ahead and pick Tennessee because it's at home for Tennessee.
All right.
Moving on to our next game. South Florida, Miami. Do they do it again, Ryan? Do they do it again?
Is there any doubt in your mind that this team can't beat another top 25 opponent? They're taking them down one step at a time. First it was 25, the back end of the rankings, then it was 13, the middle end. Now they're coming for the head, all right? They're coming for Miami. They're on the road once again. They're no stranger to it. Give me the South Florida Bulls
Man. Um,
all day, any day.
so yeah, as Ryan just said, they've already two ranked teams, Boise State and then Florida on the road, and now they go to Hard Rock to play top five Miami. On everything in my intellectual brain, which I don't have much in my intellectual brain, and everything on paper tells me that Miami should comfortably win this game. But a lot of those same things said the same for Florida last week. Give me the Bulls.
Give me the
Give me
balls,
the
baby.
Bulls.
Come on.
Ah. Oh, that's awesome. All right.
Please, please, that would be so awesome.
By the
You
way,
guys
this
would be
happens.
so cool.
USF is getting put in the top 10 next week. top
There's no way you don't put them in the top 10, especially because Miami has a top 10 win already.
Not gonna lie, not gonna lie. If they beat Miami next week, they're going undefeated. I'm telling you, they're going undefeated,
They
bro.
had, oh my God, if they lose a game to anyone, that's gonna be the saddest story ever.
Oh,
It's gonna hurt. If they were to beat Miami and then lose to like Florida Atlantic,
that would
that's a home game
be
too.
tragic. Actually, tragic. Might be the worst thing I've ever seen.
It'd be so painful to see.
All right, moving on to the next game. Notre Dame at Texas, or Texas A&M at Notre Dame. Excuse me. Rematch of last year in South Bend this time. Um, I don't know. I actually don't know about this game. I was thinking Texas up until I saw their defense give up 22 points to Utah State. I'm still gonna go Texas A&M though. More experienced quarterback, even though if it's not by much. I feel like Texas A&M has better playmakers on the outside, and not been super surprised with the Notre Dame running game. In the one game they've had, it just has not been as advertised. Maybe they come out and perform against A&M, but for now, I'm gonna pick A&M.
Yeah, that's valid. I think I'm gonna go with Notre Dame though. I think they played Miami really well. Um, in a road game as well. So they were down pretty much out in that game. They were down 21-7 pretty much or halfway through the third. Couldn't get on the board until the fourth really. And I just think 27-24 loss to a team slightly worse than you in the preseason rankings. not that bad of a loss. They also had a chance to go down and win that game in the fourth. Um, just couldn't get the play going. Just couldn't get the drive going. Couple of sacks from Akeem Mesidor of Miami just ended the game basically. Uh, so I don't know. I like Notre Dame in this one for a bounce back. They're at home as well. They took down Texas A&M last year in Texas A&M, which is a really tough stadium to play at. So I'm gonna take Notre Dame.
Not a bad pick. Yeah, that game I could see going either way. Vandy, South Carolina, is our next game. This is at South Carolina, I believe. South Carolina's looked okay, in their first two games. However, these two teams have a common opponent, and Vanderbilt did play said common opponent better than South Carolina did. And Vandy did that on the road. South Carolina played Virginia Tech in a neutral site. So I'm going to go with the Doors for an upset here.
Giving Vanderbilt their upset early this year.
I guess.
I think I'm gonna go with South Carolina. I think Lenora Sellers probably hasn't looked great early this season, and as much as I love Diego Pavia and I would love to watch this upset, I just don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think you're gonna go uh, into that stadium in South Carolina and get an easy win. No stadium that is played in a college town by the name of Columbia is easy to play in. Um, and I just I feel like this should I won't say an easy game for South Carolina because I do think Vanderbilt's good. I just road SEC games are no joke.
No, they are not a joke in
And
the slightest. And yeah, South Carolina.
I guess Florida disproved that, but Mississippi State proved it.
If you can count on anyone in the SEC to lose a game at home that they really shouldn't, count on Florida. Been seeing this since they lost to Georgia Southern at home in 2013. If you want
Yep.
an SEC team to lose at home to a clearly inferior opponent, your best bet's probably Florida.
If nobody's got me,
Florida's got me.
I know Florida got me.
For the first time, actually, I'm gonna go ahead and revert my pick. Thinking about this a little bit more. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take South Carolina here instead of Vandy.
Ooh.
Just
So we're not saving the graphic this week.
giving it no, giving it some more time to think. And by more time, I mean like 2 minutes while you were talking. Yeah, I'm gonna go Carolina here.
All right then.
That's a night game in Willie B. That place is that and Auburn are probably two of the most cursed places in the SEC. Auburn by far, but South Carolina is probably second.
Yeah.
All right, moving over to the ACC for our next game. Georgia Tech and Clemson. Game you got to think about a little bit more, seeing as how Clemson played Troy this week. This game's in Bobby Dodd in Atlanta. My determining factor for this game is, will Haynes King be healthy and available to play? If he is, give me the Jackets. If not, I don't know if Aaron Philo has the experience yet to lead the Jackets through the Tigers' defense.
Yeah, I like that. Give me the Jackets no matter what though. I hate the way Clemson has looked
Okay, green
early
post-it
in the
note.
season. Huh?
I said, okay, green post-it note.
What's that supposed to mean?
You never seen the movie Draft Day?
Oh,
Because he said no matter what.
no matter what. Yeah, give me the Jackets no matter what, dude. I like this team. I think they're gonna be good this year. I was super high on them in the preseason. They haven't really shown me, I shouldn't be excited for this team. And if Haynes King is healthy, great. If Aaron Philo is playing, He went 21 for 28, had a touchdown, also threw a pick. I like completion percentage a lot. I think that's a big stat to look at, and 75% against a crummy team is better than 50% against a crummy team. So I think, you know, especially with how Clemson played against Troy, I think, uh, I mean, Klubnik had very similar stats to Aaron Philo, and Klubnik is supposed to be a Heisman favorite. So I think the Yellow Jackets are a very good team in the ACC. I think they should be ranked already. I thought they should have been a preseason ranked team, but
Really surprised they weren't
um,
actually.
yeah. So give me Georgia Tech no matter what. I like them. They're at home. They should win.
All right. Last game that we are previewing. It I feel like these schedules are made like it doesn't feel like these schedules are made in advance. Because why else would Duke be going to Tulane to play Tulane if they didn't have a new quarterback that transferred from Tulane? Not the biggest coincidence ever.
Um, yeah. No, I mean that. I think that's just funny personally that you have the Darian Mensah going back to Tulane just 3 weeks into the season, and you also have another interesting storyline on the other side of that ball, and it's Jake
Red
Retzlaff,
Slav.
who
Yeah,
I
we
said
know.
Retzlaff.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay. Thought you were correcting me.
No, I just happened to
Uh,
say it at the same time as you.
oh, okay. Yeah, no. Tulane though hasn't looked great to start the season.
They haven't, but they're
Uh,
favored in this game. They're two and a half
yeah,
point
minus
favorites.
minus the Northwestern game because you know
They have the power
it was of hate.
of hate for bad people on their side.